Thanks everyone. Thanks to Thomas and everyone from CSIRO for having me along today. It's an honour to come and present. I just wanted to kick things off with a slide which provided everything sort of works. There we go. A slide on our capability, but not so much to sort of bang the drum on what we do, but more just to talk a little bit about digital twins from a technology sort of competency perspective and what we're seeing in the market. So they're the things that we do in our digital business. And I think when we then look at all the support sort of functions down the bottom there, we talk about, business and systems analysis and user research and obviously change management, which is really, really important for any kind of new technology. But obviously then the integration and obviously how we support these systems. But we really see the digital twin is kind of a thing that spans all of those capabilities, and it really is important that you sort of look at a digital twin from a number of perspectives, not just one particular technology lens. So a really nice introduction into, I guess, what we also see when we go and talk to clients. So whenever we go in and we engage with a customer, particularly around networks and large scale data problems or challenges, this is the sort of sentiment that we experience and we see when we talk to our customers, and obviously a lot of these have a big impact on time, quality, and cost, which is obviously important to any operator. But the one that we're seeing now more and more is that sort of reputational and security risk. So obviously there's some things that we're seeing obviously out in the market with regards to smart technology, and it's not about the technology. There's a lot we can do, but obviously the security aspect is becoming more and more fundamental. So I can't do digital twins without doing a little bit of a what is a digital twin slide. So this is the obligatory definition, but that's actually from the Digital Twin Consortium, which has sort of been recently formed globally and includes a lot of major technology players, and interestingly enough, the New South Wales government are members. But I like the one down the bottom because it's on a simple sort of guy. So it's kind of a nice overview, which is basically temporal data. What has happened. So speaks to that kind of really important information. In the engineering space of what was done. Obviously, understanding what's happening. And being able to sort of look to the more advanced use case of digital twin, which is what will happen, and looking at simulation. And I seem to have copied a graphic from Pradeep as well. I was checking out Pradeep's presentation before, and it seems that graphic on the left there is sort of quite similar to one of his. So I won't dare say great minds think alike, but I might claim that one, Pradeep. But yeah, really a system of systems. So boiling it down to entities, access, and stakeholders. And then recognizing that we are looking at large areas and jurisdictions. So obviously going national into state and territories, cities and LGAs, obviously networks and utilities, and then going into sort of more private enterprise and states. We really do see it being about connection between all of these I guess jurisdictions. The other one that's really important then is obviously we'll get to stakeholders, but it's the access, and a term that we use quite a lot in engineering is a RACI. So typically we talk about who's responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, and for various different things your status is different. So I think a RACI logic going into digital twins is very important because it helps inform permissions and definition of roles and the like. And then that takes us on to stakeholders. Now, I've kind of defined stakeholders as controllers, creators, collaborators, and consumers. So this is really on a lot of our projects, particularly in the engineering space, it's all about how we come together and collaborate and partner. But it's really important to define those individual stakeholders because they all have quite different needs and wants, and also, it does come down to what people can see and what they can't see. So I think it's the trust piece that Travis touched on earlier with regards to that systemized reputation. I think trust is everything when we talk about digital twins, but it is all about making sure that we get that design right up front and we have a real structure to the way that comes together. And I thought just on that slide, kind of almost touching on the why a little bit, and that quote down there from Shane Fitzsimmons, sort of on the back of the obviously the bushfire crisis that we had here in Sydney, in New South Wales quite recently. and interesting to see the connections being made to, you know, I guess the value proposition for digital twins, and sort of looking at how, you know, all of the various different I guess jurisdictions can be tied together so that the right information is available at the right time. And I think this is the scary bit. So when we look at smart infrastructure, digital twins, we can, you know, everything is possible, and we want to make everything connected. But I think the recent experience in the US, obviously with the Colonial Pipeline, has people worried, and we know from the conversations we have with large utilities that, you know, they are worried about this, and things like the Critical Infrastructure Act in Australia means that you know, the utilities need to be, you know, ready to provide information on demand. They need to be able to do that. You know, sometimes it takes them time to find information and surface that and share that. So, and then on the left there, you can see sort of reference to some of the Data New South Wales information, and obviously referencing things like ISO 27001, which is something that we're starting to see clients you know, looking out for more and more, particularly when they're reaching out for digital solutions. Now, I certainly won't have time to sort of go through and dive into our maturity model too deeply, but I think we find this helps a lot when we're having conversations with our customers, because you know, not all customers are aspiring to that sort of level 4 simulation and optimization twin, which we've defined, but we are seeing particularly that level 3 operational twin is a place where our clients and customers want to get to as efficiently as possible. But just before we get onto that, so WSP works in that engineering and planning space. So a lot of what we do is to sort of meet you know, the requirements for, you know, a new piece of infrastructure, and making sure that we can really, you know, really leverage the information that already exists. And currently there's a lot of waste in that process. So things like the New South Wales Spatial Digital Twin, which obviously CSIRO Data 61 have been involved in, they're really important steps. So making sure the supply chain has good quality information to inform, you know, planning for the new pieces of infrastructure that are going to be eventually delivered. Really important, I guess, component to the early stage front end planning aspect of any new piece of infrastructure. But then moving into that operational phase, I think that level 3 operational twin is where we really start seeing some huge benefit to operators. And then I guess the exciting opportunity then is moving to level 4, where we really start looking at that more predictive and simulation approach to the use of you know, all of the asset and operational data that our clients and customers have access to. And obviously that's where we're quite excited with regards to the role that ML and AI will play. But the initial challenge is just getting that level 3 operational twin functioning and having all of the information sort of coming into the one place, so that we can really start leveraging some of the insights of bringing all that together. And just very quickly, a case study. So WSP over a couple of years now, delivering through COVID, which has been fun. So doing everything remotely, but supporting the City of Newcastle, working as part of their Newcastle City Intelligent Platform. Very much collaborating not only with the city, but also its technology partners in NNNCO, with the LoRaWAN, and also a vendor called Pecklet and their open data soft platform. But what we're really excited about with this platform is that we're really starting to see how it's informing the city, looking at how the city performs, and including the movement of people, and then starting to inform the planning of you know, what the city will look like tomorrow, and how it will function tomorrow. So that's getting to the point where it's no longer just about, you know, smart bins or smart this, or it's kind of really starting to inform, you know, the planning of how the city's going to function sort of heading into the future. So an exciting project that we're sort of keen to talk more about in the future. And that's me. So thank you very much. I'll throw back to you, Luke.
No, thanks, Damien. That was really interesting. Digital twins of course, a bit on the university side, or one of those hot buzzy words that we like to put into grants, but that really fully operational digital twin at level 3 and 4 is where we start to see those transformational benefits. Is there a way then for the SMEs to be digital twin ready, and maybe they prepare their information to be shared onto sort of these platforms, or that interaction between sort of the SME, the government, and the larger industries? Do you have a comment on that, maybe?
I think the SMEs are lucky in a way, Luke. It's a really good question because they're not burdened by legacy systems and ways of working. So I think there's actually, I always use the Happy Days term, jump the shark. So I think the SMEs can kind of go from 0 to 3 quite quickly. So absolutely, and I think there's some pretty big ambitions when you talk to government with regards to the spatial digital twin and how they see it functioning, not only in the public, but the private sector, with regards to it being that sort of connection, between private property and public. So the ability to actually have that form of a marketplace, I think there's huge opportunities for SMEs to be sort of ready to do that sooner rather than later.
But are we starting to see those marketplaces? I mean, that's been the promise, and as we know, when things get to that level of digital, the marketplace does evolve. I'm not maybe privy to that marketplace yet, but is there that sense of interacting with data where you can share your data and both sides can get that value? Is that starting to happen as we share with across government or across enterprise at the moment?
I think at the moment it is still early days. So I think if we can just crack the nut of having government agencies sharing data with each other in a kind of seamless way, and also delivering value to project delivery, we often struggle with just getting the right information that we need to do a design, and so there are some fundamentals that need to be in place. But we've been really encouraged by the work that DCS, Department of Customer Service, are doing, and so it is a bit more of a and I don't think everyone sort of agrees with that centralist approach, but I can see it driving, more of a structured way in which the agencies talk to each other. And from that point on, it's going to become a lot easier for the private sector to come in and start looking at how that marketplace might evolve.
Questions from Sanjay and Ben in the chat. The one from Ben there on the screen was sort of at that tier 1 construction companies being a driver to the adoption of digital twins. What might be those incentives?
Look, I think tier 1 consultants and contractors, we're both alike. We're kind of, going back to Travis's point, where, we'll find the path of least resistance. We can be pretty selfish. We've been saying things like we're all in it together and all that sort of thing over the last sort of 18 months. But the reality is, if we can deliver a project more efficiently, but still meet the client's requirements with regards to quality, and if we can use digital twin as a way of doing that, we will. So I think at the moment, getting to the point where we're all speaking the same language with regards to data is sort of fundamental, because a lot of the waste is around, we all kind of do the same thing, but we use a different sort of dictionary. So I think getting some of those fundamentals in place, we'll start realizing those benefits, and then I think it will really take off.
And Sanjay's taking us really to that higher level of what are the challenges in really getting up to the complexity of the smart city. But maybe I'll take it halfway there. Is I'm seeing a lot of the transport and GIS systems in planning leading towards the smart city. Is that sort of the evolution as some of these platforms are getting smarter, and as we're heading towards that smart city with the building the IoT data then into that smart cities kind of network?
Yeah, totally. And I think it does come down to jurisdiction. So I think we've been really encouraged here in New South Wales, because with the Department of Customer Service and also and DPI, they're starting to look at some new approaches to the way in which they use those large spatial data sets to derive greater value. I think also the floods and the bushfires have given DCS sort of more of a platform to go harder with what they've been doing. But I think also looking at the telcos, I mean, we work very closely with Telstra, and they can definitely see the opportunities of sort of getting involved in some of those initiatives and starting to look at how we can start connecting in IoT and SCADA systems. And going back to the earlier point with regards to 5G, it's going to make certain things a lot more possible, particularly with regards to some of these very large data sets when you talk about, LiDAR and photogrammetry, which, we're talking about the whole state of New South Wales. We're talking about vast amounts of data, and everyone wants, the latest and current information.
I've just put the solar panels on the roof in the last couple of years. I've got much more data coming in, but so does my provider now. Is that kind of home IoT being plugged into the smart city, almost like that model of where we're jumping that shark, kind of getting ahead with suddenly the pipeline of data is there, and both the regulators and those companies suddenly have that stream, but they haven't quite got their digital twins ready. So there's a real opportunity
Absolutely.
to help build out. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I can only so I'll almost pass on to Bruce Thompson there from DCS, who obviously Data 61 know very well, but I think something he said recently, which is, and this is his vision, not my words, but he was sort of saying that he could see a future where you would essentially digitally, be able to request access to someone's home and actually go in and do a virtual inspection and, have access to some of that data, Luke, that you were referencing, to actually understand how a site is performing, not only, what it looks like. And I think it's encouraging to have that sort of vision, in government. Now, I don't think government are always the ones that will deliver it, right till the very end, because, the private sector sort of comes in and has different views on things. And Uber's a great example of how, that disruption, comes. But I think having that sort of vision on how we could essentially collaborate digitally through these platforms is very encouraging.